And we are live here at Quintessential Comics Book Club, March 2015. Yay! Today we are discussing Hip Hop Family Tree Volume 1, as well as Howard the Duck Issue 1. I am your host, Alice Quinn, here on Quintessential Comics, and with me today, we have Mike.
Hello, everyone. That's my intro. That's it. I'm Mike. Hi.
And Ashley.
Hello. Hi.
Cool. So let's just get right into it and talk about the books. Do you want to talk about the issue first? Graphic novel? Doesn't matter.
Which one's which?
Ooh, hip hop.
You want to talk about hip hop first? All right, we're going to talk about the graphic novel we read this month, Hip Hop Family Tree Volume 1. Ashley's got it on screen because I went through my copy. Yeah. I liked it. I mean, it's sort of weird because it's half history textbook, half comic book, where the history is hip hop, and the comic is all in like the style of the 70s. So it is very different. How did you guys feel about the format and content?
I liked it. I thought it was an interesting take. But it was a bit hard to follow because it's historically accurate, so there's so many people to keep track of. But I like the style. And I think I want to read it through again just so I make sure I understand what's happening because it gets pretty complicated.
Yeah, I found it to be really dense. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of history names to remember, especially when he's throwing in people like, Run DMC as little kids, and you're really he's getting ahead of himself in those cases. So he sort of makes it difficult on himself by putting in all these extra people. But then I found out that it was originally serialized on the internet, which made a lot more sense as to why the format might not translate as much when it's published as a book. Because instead of reading a couple of pages at a time, you're getting like the whole thing all in one shot.
Oh, I had no idea. I mean, I could have looked it up, but I didn't. So I didn't know it was serialized online first. I read in the back that he was doing about 2 pages a week, and I was like, man, that's like not a lot for someone working full-time on a comic. But I guess he just isn't, so that's how he's doing it, 2 full pages a week like that.
Yeah, I like the style of it. How the colors are a bit muted. It was like it was kind of set the mood nicely. I liked it.
Yeah, and it kept that sort of feel of the 70s and 80 and 81, while also still maintaining that personal style that he has. I read another book of his, WYSIWYG, and it still has that sense of who the artist is, while also maintaining a sort of truthfulness about the time.
Yeah, I really dig the art and the way that he's doing it in the 70s style, and it bringing it closer to the subject matter. So yeah, boom, boom. Yeah, that was the cover right there.
Colorful references like outside of the hip hop world, like the Campbell Soup train and like the whole graffiti movement. Like that was, I mean, I guess it was sort of linked to the hip hop movement, but it was cool how he added those things in.
Yeah, I found that really cool because not only was there the hip-hop movement, but it was also connected to graffiti and also connected to a lot of pop. Later on when they talk about Fab Five Freddy and him meeting with Blondie. And
yeah, that was cool.
They end up kickstarting the modern, like, people actually seeing hip-hop rather than it just being like a thing you see in at clubs because, Blondie included it in her song Rapture. I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I found that part interesting because it almost seemed like he was still using those other bands and more mainstream acts that we're aware of as a way to still try to legitimize hip hop, rather than just saying like hip hop is what it is. It's his own art form. He's trying to use those other influences and things like Basquiat as well, as a way to try to bring some sort of more cultural relevancy. I wasn't sure how I thought of that.
I mean, I can see what you're saying, and he does a lot of the same sort of contextualizing with comics as well. In the end of the book, he does this thing where he goes through and compares the ways in which comics and hip-hop are really similar and have similar roots, and part of what he says is, what I just put on screen is how, oh, they all, adopted alter egos and dressed up in costumes and had their, like, on-stage persona. So yeah, I didn't really get the vibe that he was appropriating it to legitimize it, but I definitely felt like he was harping on the connections within the culture. And a lot of what he's trying to present overall, I feel, is like hip-hop culture rather than just the music. That there's this like wider spectrum of it.
Yeah. I hear that.
I mean, there's really just the commercial aspect about it, and I'm glad you had that little image comparing Grandmaster Flash and the sort of before and after, because that was one of my favorite pages in the book, was that whole little sequence of saying, like, this is when hip hop was becoming something, like, it started as the grassroots and it was becoming its own industry and commercialized in a sort of way, and it also helps it to sort of give you a context for what hip hop is like now. You can still see those parallels that exist in hip hop to this day.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how radically it changes from it being like a grassroots movement of people just in clubs dancing or in parks to this popularized mainstream thing, and they all change, all of them, and like it ends up breaking up a bunch of groups because they're fighting over who gets to go on record. And then of course there's this whole copyright issue where they can't use mixed music in their recorded track. So that whole bit about how Grandmaster Flash was totally sidelined, they put his name on the record, but they couldn't use any of his like spinning because it was all spinning of old, already produced records. And that's a conversation that really hasn't even been like decided upon. There's still so many copyright issues when it comes to music like that.
I mean, that conversation could be applied to the internet so easily. With people taking influence from everything. And like Gautier, the guy who made the Somebody That I Used to Know song a few years ago, like he made a lot of songs that he couldn't make any money off of because he kept sampling like a few seconds of music from here and here and here. So there's still like that parallel today, which is pretty interesting.
But then the fact that the Sugar Hill Gang just, Fat Hank or whoever it was, just took off the rhymes from everyone else and, used it as their own. And, he sort of brings that up sort of as an aside a bunch of times, but I'm surprised that sort of wasn't more of an issue and not something that's like, he doesn't really, I guess, debate a lot of what's happening. He's not trying to put his own spin on it. He's just sort of giving the information about a lot of what's happened in hip hop's past, and lets the reader come up with their own ideas of what happened.
I agree, but like at the same time, it's not an unbiased view because he's obviously like really nostalgic and he's really loves this stuff, and that reads through in the book. So it is one of those things where like history is told by the people that end up on top who love that stuff, and it's like, yeah, so Hank Bank, he stole a bunch of stuff and put it on this record and was like, oh yeah, we'll totally get you in the next record, to all the people he stole from, and it's like empty promises. There's that scene at the end where a bunch of little rap companies are going out of business, and so Sugar Hill's trying to get up all these like small rap crews at like bargain deals, and so they drive them out to their giant Sugar Hill mansion, and like that day was the day that everyone got paid, so they're just like running around with like suitcases full of cash, and like the small rapping group see that and they're like, oh man, we need to get in on this, like we need action. So I definitely like the way that they show biases within the hip hop community. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, there's so much in it. Like it's one of those things I need to reread, and like they're still making them. There's 2 more volumes that are out, and I guess he's still producing them online as well. One quick more thing. Did you guys listen to the YouTube playlist while you read? I sent you both the YouTube playlist of a bunch of tracks that they talk about in the book.
Right. I didn't have a chance to do that yet.
I didn't listen to it while I was reading it because I was mainly reading it either at work or on the way to work. But I have had it up the past couple of days. And really interesting just to sort of, it helps provide the full context for what's happening. But also just the fact that a lot of these songs are like 7-minute rap songs with no breaks. There's no hook. They just keep going for 7 minutes, and it's like it's incredible what and you can just sort of gives you the sense of what those parties would have been, where these people were just performers and they were going constantly with their routines rather than like verse hook chorus verse hook chorus.
They don't have any choruses.
No.
They never play them. So in the book they were talking about, oh yeah, this guy can go for 2 hours, like we can go for hours, and it's just like, yeah, it's one thing to say that, but when you actually listen to like one of those 7-minute long songs, you're like, man, they used up a lot of rhymes in like that short period of time. Like, how can they go for 2 hours? But yeah, I found it super helpful because every time they would mention something, I would go to look it up, and it's hard to find a bunch of this old music, especially because like a lot of first half of the book, nobody's on record yet. So it's hard to find that stuff. But Ed Piskor, I messaged him on Twitter, and he was like, yo, we have a playlist, check it out. So I found that super helpful, and it really got me into the zone of the book and like just made me more excited to read it. So I felt that was super helpful, having that like sort of multi-faceted experience.
Yeah, no, it was great. And one last thing that I read today, because the book has that nice sort of visual of trying to go for that sort of musty old comic book that's been around since the 70s or 80s. Like it has this sort of brown look. And I read today that Ed Piskor's idea of sort of his way to bring sampling from hip-hop culture into the book is that he took old comic books from the 70s and 80s, does some computer Photoshop magic, whatever, and puts those colors into the book to give it that look and feel, which is one of those things that, reading the book, you want to go back and sort of reread it and sort of spend more time looking at that art and colors and everything to get to really appreciate all the work that goes into it that you wouldn't necessarily realize at first.
That's so cool.
And if you look at it, it really does read and look and feel like a 70s comic book. And
the paper in the book is like old feeling, like it's textured. It's really cool.
Yeah, you know that this guy spent a lot of time at the printers, like feeling the paper, being like, I don't know, like maybe we should dip it in tea, give it that old look. So I love that detail that goes into it. So I like this book. I would recommend it to people, but I would, let them know that it at parts it does feel like a history book, because it is. But most of the time it just feels like a super fun comic. Would you guys recommend this to your friends? Is this something you would buy and cherish?
I don't think I would buy it. I don't have the sort of connection to the subject material. It's interesting, but it's not something I necessarily want to reread over and over and have with me. But if I was recommending it to someone, I would say, read a couple of pages at a time, listen to the song that goes with it, and really sort of take your time rather than just sort of grab it as a book and plow through it, because it's a little too dense to do that, and I don't think you get the full effect of what he's trying to do.
Better as a webcomic, eh?
Not necessarily. You just, be on your couch and have some headphones or something.
There's a specific process that this book calls for, I would think. But that is, I think that adds to the experience of it.
Would you recommend it to your friends?
Yeah, I think so. It made me more interested in the hip hop movement, which I never thought about before. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I'm a big hip hop fan, and part of what I really liked in this is that there's a lot of resampling of tracks that goes on in hip hop. So a bunch of these older songs I had heard like a line or two of because Breakbot or RAC or someone had remixed it into a new track. And so I just feel like it's one of those things that's vibrant, it's alive, and that's one of the things that like just totally resonated with me as I finished this book. It was like, this is an ongoing thing, like we're living part of hip-hop history right now. So yeah, I definitely recommend it to people who have read hip-hop, who haven't, who like listening to hip-hop and who don't, but it's not like your general comic book. And that's part of what I like about it. But I know some people aren't into that. But let's move on, because we have this super cool other comic to talk about. Howard the Duck, #1.
I loved this comic so much. It was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good too. I'm definitely keeping it on my ongoing because I need to get this every month. What did you think, Mike?
I enjoyed parts of it. It's not something that drew me in just based on a first read. I liked, this is my first introduction to Howard the Duck, so I like the sort of general character and premise around it. I actually found some of the interjection of other bigger Marvel comic characters to be sort of taking me out of the comic book rather than drawing me in. But I realized that might be just a partially of Marvel flexing their might and trying to get some more interest in it based on having these crossover sort of issues.
It's a Marvel comic. Would it be a Marvel comic without 3 heroes that aren't in the title? I don't know. That's part of what they do. What did you think?
And a surprise guest on the last page who's going to be in the next issue.
I love it. It's totally part of their business. Like, oh, let's interject these people so that way they get more money here and here. Like, I understand it's part of the business, but as a fangirl, like, I can't not love it. I don't know. You guys haven't seen all of our episodes where I'm like, oh my god, She-Hulk is so amazing, but they canceled her series, so it was kind of really great to see her and the gang in a page or two of this new Howard the Duck. I actually have one I can put up. That was super cool.
I liked how they introduced all the characters. I feel like it wouldn't be true to their brand otherwise. And the whole thing at the end with like special new character to like add intrigue for the next issue, like it's cliche, but it works.
That it does. Sorry, I think I have to press an extra button in order to screen share with the rest of the people on YouTube. No. We have our Q&A tab up. I still can't figure out how to get other people to look at it. So if you guys know Google Hangouts and after the show, or can just pop in with questions. after the show, show me how to do it. I can't get it working. It's right there.
Well, if you're streaming live to YouTube, people can comment on the YouTube video.
Yes, I can. I will switch my screen and see if they are, but I don't know. You know, these things happen. I'll take a look if I can. It's hard. Hold on. I'm gonna put up another page and you guys can talk about it because I couldn't actually find this this scene in the pages that were previewed online, but there is a page where he has a training montage where like he's just like lifting weights, you know, bench pressing. And then there's like the lyrics to a song, and at the end, it's got like a little credit to like, oh, this is the song we're listening to. The song is called Training Montage. I don't know.
I spent like a minute trying to fit the lyrics into Eye of the Tiger, and it didn't quite work. But I was like really trying to do that for a long period of time, and imagining how Eye of the Tiger would fit like Training Montage.
It's just like lifting weights. Hey. Okay, cool. So I'm sort of watching it. This is weird. I'm watching a video of us watching a video.
We heard it for a second.
Yeah, I muted it, but like I don't know. I mean, my showcase isn't.
That was such a good page, the training montage. That was awesome.
Did it get you hyped? Did it give you a chuckle?
It gave me a chuckle.
Cool.
I don't know. I liked it. There was a lot of movement going on, and it was like bright colors, and action stuff, and they were like jumping all over the page. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in this issue, we're clearly just scratching the surface of Howard the Duck. They're just giving us a brief intro. They're trying to hook us. One of the things I liked, I don't have a page of it, but there's a new character they introduced. I would look through and figure out her name, but Mike's got my comment. Where she's like, oh, they're both sitting together in jail, and they're like, oh, what are you in for, you know? And they're like, oh yeah, you know, like racism. They don't like my kind. And she's like, oh man, they don't like my kind either. And so they sort of bond over that. And
yeah, her name is Tara.
Pardon?
Tara.
Tara.
Tara, T-A-R-A. I just went to the thing and looked.
Cool, Tara. So yeah, I liked her. I think she'll be an interesting character. Are they gonna make her a love interest? Do ducks have love interests? Probably.
I hope they don't make her a love interest. She's too badass for that.
What do you think? Or part of the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, more the muscle. You know, it'd be nice to have a male duck have some female muscle. That is a comic I would read.
Yeah, me too. I hope Howard the Duck does that, and like with Chip Zdarsky writing it, I can believe that might happen. That we'll see more non-traditional parts of it, but there's also the fact to consider that this is a major Marvel comic. Since they've brought it into the movie universe, they're going to keep a close watch over this. I went to a talk where they released this comic, and Chip was talking about how he had to go to the Spider office to get approvals for what he was doing with Spider-Man in his comic. Like, Marvel has a Spider office. Like, so clearly this is definitely part of a bigger cog in the machine. But I don't know. I think it'll be good. And the way that Marvel has been doing comics recently, they've been open to new ideas, trying new things. Sometimes they don't work out, and that's fine as long as I keep trying new things. So I'm for it. It'll be great. I think this first issue is already great. I had a ton of laughs out of it. Like this whole.
Are you putting up the Uncle Ben panel? If there are more panels like the Uncle Ben panel, then yes, this comic will do well.
Yeah, I just put up his interaction with Spider-Man. But
yeah.
it was pretty funny. Where like in this page, Spider-Man's like, "No, Howard, I won't help you out of every scrape ever." And then later on, Howard's in trouble, and Spider-Man's like, "Oh no, what if I let him down?" And that bit about Uncle Ben was hilarious. And, like, that's stuff that's, like, clearly genuinely Chip, so I hope he keeps throwing that in, and I hope he keeps getting under the radar and into the comic. Because comics like this, like, he'll write whatever he wants for the first time, and then he'll get, like, a million revisions, so we'll see what actually ends up in the issue. But I'm definitely going to keep following it, at least for a couple months, to see where it goes, and also because I feel like these issues might increase in value. That's the little collector in me. Also, Chip's working on it, and I love supporting his work. Would you spend the now $5 with the 25% Canadian dollar increase to buy this issue and to continue buying it for the foreseeable future?
I would buy the volumes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if I would buy the issues, but I would buy the volumes, like when they came out.
Yeah.
That should just maybe be a personal thing, though, because I don't like having issues so much because they kind of get scattered, and I don't know, I like having books.
Hey, Marvel, listen to us. DC, like, we're trying to change the industry because they keep valuing the success of comic books based on issues, where a lot of people, they're like, I don't have places for issues, so I need books, man. Books are where it's at. So yeah, you would buy it in the collected issue volumes. Right?
Yeah, definitely would.
I don't think I bought an issue of a comic since I was like 10 or 12. So it would take a lot for me to start buying an issue of something. So I'm just going to put that as a lead-in to say that no, I probably wouldn't buy issues of this. But if it comes out as a collected volume and is it in my local library, then it's something I would definitely read. One thing I liked about the first issue is that you didn't really get a sense of where this comic is going. The sort of beginning, middle, and end took you to 3 different places. So I do want to see where this goes, and it seems to have a good start.
I would agree with you. It definitely is a good start. I like not knowing what's going on. Because a lot of comics will be like, all right, here's where we are. This is what's happening. And then you're like, oh, I already know how this issue is going to play out. With this, I never knew what was going to happen. I knew there was going to be an appearance of She-Hulk because I read the internet and I'm obsessed. But I didn't know how it would be. And I definitely physically stopped myself from reading the preview pages that were released online beforehand because I wanted to get that full issue experience. And a lot of people are like that when it comes to books, and they want to read them in trades, right? So they won't listen to what's going on when it comes out in issues. But yeah, this one was definitely good. It's interesting. Like, it's different, and I like different under a Marvel title.
Yeah, there's no formula to follow for a talking private investigator deck. So I like that.
Now for something completely different.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about what we're gonna do next month. Unless there's anything else you guys want to say about this month and the books we discussed. I think we're pretty good. Eh?
We're good.
Cool. Yeah. So next month, I know I've already done a Kagan McLeod book in Infinite Kung Fu last night, and I've already done a Chip Zdarsky book in Howard the Duck this month, and it might be biased to do another one next month, but you know what? I'm biased. I'm biased against good books, alright? So if there was like a #1 issue coming out in April that wasn't Kaptar that also looked as good, I would put it in my book club, but there isn't. Kaptar looks amazing. I mean, look at this space sci-fi epic. Like, that Kagan McLeod art, that Chip Zdarsky writing. You know it's going to be off the hook. I know it's going to be off the hook. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to reading and discussing this next month. So that's our issue of the month.
I'm excited.
Yay! So that's our issue of the month for April. Next month is April. I mean, I think it's technically, no, April's tomorrow. And we're also going to read this one called Day Tripper by Gabriel Ba and
It looks so pretty.
Pardon?
I'm excited for this one too. It looks really nice.
Yeah, I do this thing where like I try really hard not to pick books that I think are gonna be bad. I mean, there's lots of stuff I could be reading, but I want us to read good stuff. So I got a recommendation on this on Twitter from, hold on, Jason Fedor, Jason D. Fedorchuk. But thank you for the recommendation on Twitter, because we're going to read that. It sounds super cool. And his recommendation, word for word, was, it's a beautiful book. Tears may occur, but not always from sadness. So how can I deny that? That sounds super cool. Yeah, if you guys like this episode, subscribe to us on Google Plus so I can invite you to next month's episode. Follow us on our YouTube channel, Quintessential Comics. It's got 2 N's and an X, because I make you work for it. And yeah, we're on Facebook and Twitter as QCX Show in both cases. I am always looking for people to join in these round panel discussions. I try to give a variety of people, different opinions. Your mom could join if she wants. She can get the webcam set up. Like, that'd be super cool. I'm sure she could have way different opinions than me about comic books. I'm now imagining my mom in on this, and it's kind of frightening. So maybe not your mom, but you know what I mean. If you guys want to join up, just message me on any social media stuff, and I can totally get you in on this super cool video recording action. Like these guys. Look at how happy they are. Look at those smiles.
Hi, Mom. I'm on the internet.
I'm giggling a lot. It's getting all up my cheeks. But I want to thank you guys for joining us this month to discuss these books. I had a blast, and I hope you'll join us in future months when there's some cool comics you want to discuss with us. Thanks, Mike. Do you want to give another shout out to your mom?
Yeah, I just texted her, and she is looking forward to being on next month. Yeah. So thank you, Alice, for having me on, and thanks everyone for watching.
Cool. Ashley?
Yeah, thank you. I don't think my mom would be interested in this kind of thing, but I was happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And y'all can find me at ashtoledo.com. All the things are there.
Yeah, Ashley's got some pretty cool art, and maybe sometime soon we'll see a webcomic from her, so keep an eye on that. Thanks again for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you guys all next month.
All right. Toodles.